Have you ever been told you're too sensitive? According to research, only about 1% to 2% of people experience the world the way I do, deeply feeling others' emotions as if they were their own. I happen to be one of them, often called an empath, and it's both a gift and a daily struggle. Each morning, I feel like my heart is a radio antenna picking up everyone's emotional broadcasts. I can sense a neighbor's sadness with a simple good morning, or absorb a coworker's stress before they've said a word. Just the other day, I walked into work feeling upbeat, only to be overwhelmed by a colleague's anxiety that hit me like a wave. By lunchtime, I was drained, and then that same colleague told me, "You care too much. Just focus on yourself." It stung. Why did my empathy bother him so much? If you've had moments like this where your light seems to make others uncomfortable, you're not alone. And there is a profound reason behind it. In this video, we'll explore Carl Jung's deep insights into why empaths often become targets of envy or discomfort, and how you can protect your inner light.
There is a strange and almost paradoxical law that governs human relationships. A law that does not emerge from logic or reason, but from the shadow depths of the psyche. You have felt it, though perhaps you could not name it. It is the magnetic tension between the light of the empath and the unspoken resentment of those who secretly wish to extinguish that radiance. Why is it that the soul that gives, that heals, that perceives with a heart unguarded, so often draws near to those who seem unsettled by its very presence? Why is the one who feels most deeply, the one who is misunderstood, envied, or even quietly hated? This is not coincidence. It is not fate in the simple sense. It is an alchemical reality woven into the unconscious dynamics between the self and the other.
Coming up, you'll discover why empaths can be magnetic to people who secretly resent or envy their light, Jung's eye-opening concepts of the shadow and projection, and how they explain those negative reactions you sometimes get, and how to recognize when someone is trying to dim your light, plus ways to set healthy boundaries without losing your compassion. So stick around if you want to understand the psychology behind these empath experiences and how to shine even brighter because of it.
Empathy is not just a personality trait, it is a manifestation of what I call the self, the totality of all psychic contents, both conscious and unconscious. When someone is truly empathic, they are not merely sensing emotions or reading the invisible language of energy. They are allowing themselves to become a vessel through which the collective unconscious can speak. Such a person is luminous, not because they try to be, but because the very act of openness creates a field of awareness that others feel in ways they cannot articulate. And yet, there is a cost to such light. Wherever there is light, the shadow sharpens its edges. You may have noticed this. When you walk into a room with your quiet presence, the atmosphere shifts. Some people are drawn to you as if to a sacred flame. Others, however, react with subtle irritation or hidden contempt. They may smile, but their energy contracts. They may admire you on the surface. But deep inside, they harbor resentment. What is this hidden hostility? Why does your mere existence stir a discomfort they do not fully understand? The answer lies in the archetype of the shadow. Every person carries a shadow. That dark container of all we refuse to see or accept within ourselves. When someone encounters an empath, they are confronted not only with the warmth of light, but with the uncomfortable contrast between what they are and what they wish they could be. The empath's light, that authenticity, that natural openness, exposes the other's hidden wounds, the unhealed aspects they have buried. This is why resentment arises. It is rarely about you as a person. It is about what you reflect to them, what you awaken within them. Your presence acts like a mirror, showing them both the longing for wholeness and the fear of their own suppressed darkness. I've often said that the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. The empath transforms others simply by being, but transformation is not always welcome to the one who is not yet ready to face their shadow. Your light feels like a silent accusation. They may feel diminished in your presence, not because you belittle them, but because your authenticity reveals the artificial masks they wear. It is as though their psyche whispers, you are not living your truth. And instead of listening, they project that discomfort onto you. They resent you for being what they cannot yet behold.
Empaths and self-awareness, the first line of defense. First, let's talk about self-awareness for an empath. Self-awareness isn't just a nice to have, it's survival. When you feel everything around you so intensely, you have to know what feelings are yours and what belong to someone else. This is something I've learned the hard way. I spent years carrying emotions that weren't mine, wondering why my mood swung wildly depending on who I was with. It was exhausting and confusing. Carl Jung, the famous depth psychologist, would say that developing a strong sense of self is essential for people like me and you. He described a process called individuation, essentially the journey of becoming aware of who you truly are, integrating all the parts of yourself into a whole. Jung believed that we each need to encounter our inner world through reflection, even isolation at times, in order to grow. And in fact, he considered periods of solitude as crucial for self-discovery, a kind of sacred time to find your own center. I found this to be true. Spending quiet time alone, whether through journaling or just sitting in nature, helps me separate my feelings from the emotional noise of others. Why is this so important? Because empaths often merge with the emotions around them. Jungian analysts note that empaths can lose their sense of self by unconsciously absorbing others' feelings and even their hidden pains. Without self-awareness, you might confuse someone else's hurt or anger for your own. I remember once feeling inexplicably anxious at a party, only to realize later I was fine. It was another friend's anxiety I had picked up through therapy and inner work. I learned to ask myself, is this emotion mine or did I catch it from someone else? This one question has been a game changer. It's the kind of reflective habit that builds the boundary between you and the world. Jung taught that we must know our own psyche, our own desires, fears, and wounds. Because if we don't, the outside world will overwhelm us. For the empath, this means embracing your sensitivity. Consciously, your empathy is part of you, but it shouldn't define all of you. With self-awareness, you become an observer of the emotions. You sense, not just a sponge. You can feel with others without always feeling for others. This mindful separation is the first line of defense that allows your empathy to remain a strength rather than a weakness.
There is also a deeper psychological mechanism at play, one that is both fascinating and dangerous, left invisible scars. Your light is not naive. It is born from a long journey through your own darkness. Others sense this subconsciously. They sense that you hold a key, a knowledge of suffering, transformation, and renewal. Yet, instead of seeking to learn from you, many will attempt to siphon your energy or even to dim it. This is the paradox. Your very gift makes you a target. Consider the image of the sun. It gives life, warmth, clarity, but not everyone welcomes the sun. For some, it is too bright, too exposing. They crave shadows, because shadows hide the truth. In the same way, an empath's energy can feel invasive to those who are not ready to be seen. They may call you too sensitive or too emotional, but what they really mean is that your sensitivity unmasks what they desperately try to conceal. And here lies the secret resentment. They are both drawn to your light and threatened by it. It is as if they want to stand near the warmth of the fire but cannot bear the illumination that comes with it. In my work with dreams, I have often encountered symbols that reveal this dynamic. A dream might present a figure of the luminous child, a radiant being that shines with purity and truth. But alongside it, there is often the shadow figure, the envious sibling, the dark twin, the trickster who tries to extinguish that light. This is the eternal motif of the light bearer and the shadow, of the hero and the adversary in your waking life. You may find this symbol playing out in the form of relationships where you feel drained, misunderstood, or quietly sabotaged. It is not because you are wrong or flawed, but because you are a living embodiment of that luminous archetype. And wherever such light exists, the shadow rises to meet it. I invite you to reflect. Have you ever noticed how some people seem inexplicably irritated by your kindness? As though they interpret your generosity as a kind of judgment against them. This is projection. They see in you what they cannot accept in themselves. Perhaps they resent their own inability to feel deeply, to connect authentically, to live without the armor of pretense. And so, rather than face their own discomfort, they project it outward. You become the too much, the one who tries too hard, the one who feels too intensely. But the truth is, they are not rejecting you. They are rejecting the mirror you hold up to their soul. To live as an empath is to walk the razor's edge between light and shadow. Your sensitivity is both your strength and your vulnerability. It allows you to see the unspoken, to touch the unseen currents of emotion that run beneath the surface of ordinary life. But it also means you will encounter resistance. People will love you for your warmth, but some will resent you for your radiance. This is not your fault. It is simply the way the unconscious reacts when confronted with a force that awakens it. The key is not to dim your light to please others, but to understand the alchemy at play. When you see resentment in someone's eyes, know that it is not a verdict against you, but a sign of their own inner conflict. I will tell you something that may surprise you. The people who resent your light the most are often those who secretly yearn for it. They are drawn to you because you remind them of a part of themselves they have lost. You stir in them a longing for authenticity, for freedom, for emotional depth. But because they are afraid of their own wounds, they turn that longing into anger, jealousy, or quiet hostility. This is why so many empaths find themselves in relationships, whether romantic, familial, or professional, where they are both admired and subtly undermined. The empath, unaware of this dynamic, often takes it personally. You may think, what have I done wrong? Why do they treat me this way when all I want is harmony? But this is not about what you have done. It is about what you are.
Why would someone try to dim the light of a person who only wants to spread understanding and kindness? The answer lies in Carl Jung's concept of the shadow in Jung and psychology. The shadow is all the parts of ourselves that we reject or keep hidden in the dark. Our insecurities, fears, and undesirable impulses that we push down into the unconscious. Every person has a shadow. The more unaware someone is of their own shadow, the more likely they are to project it onto others. And this is where empaths often get caught in the crossfire. You see, when you come along with your bright empathy and authenticity, it can act like a mirror to the people around you. One Jungian analysis explains that empaths, by their very nature, reflect a deep authenticity that can trigger the hidden shadow wounds in those around them. In other words, the very light that makes an empath beautiful often exposes the darkness. Others don't want to face your kindness. Your openness, your emotional intelligence, these shine a light. And if someone has parts of themselves they're ashamed of or pain, they've buried, your light threatens to reveal it. How do people respond when their shadow is exposed? Often not kindly. It's easier for someone to say, "You're too sensitive," or "Why are you so happy all the time?" than it is for them to ask, "Why does their happiness or sensitivity make me uncomfortable?" Instead of facing their own unresolved feelings, they go on the attack, even subtly, effectively trying to dim your light. This psychological phenomenon is what Jung called projection. He noted that people project their unwanted qualities onto others. As a defense mechanism, rather than reckon with their own darkness, they might label you as the problem. For example, a person who has rejected their own sensitivity might mock you for a person who feels deep down that they've lost their compassion might resent you for your big heart. Your presence confronts them with what they lack or fear within themselves. I experienced this with that colleague I mentioned. My empathy in the workplace inadvertently highlighted his own stress and lack of coping. It was as if my calm compassion was a mirror showing him the anxiety he didn't want to admit. His response was to lash out at me for caring too much in Jungian terms. He projected his frustration with himself onto me. Realizing this doesn't make the hurtful comment okay, but it does help me not internalize it. I remind myself their reaction says more about them than about me. If you're an empath, you might have similar stories. Friends, family, or partners who were drawn to your warmth at first, then inexplicably started trying to put you down. It's a confusing flip until you see the pattern. Through Jung's eyes, those people were drawn to your light. But once they got close, that light also made their own unhealed wounds visible. It's like getting close to a fire. It draws you in, but it can also make you uncomfortable if you're not ready for the heat. Some people will try to put out the fire, dim your light rather than step into its glow and face what it reveals. Now, learning about this pattern can be liberating. It's not that you're doing anything wrong by being kind or sensitive. In fact, Jung might say you are living more authentically. The issue is that not everyone is ready to handle that authenticity, and that's their journey, not yours. If these insights are resonating with you, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. I share deep dives like this into psychology and personal growth every week, and your support means I can keep creating content. Also, if you know another empath who might need to hear this, feel free to share this with them. Thank you. Now let's get into how you can protect your light without dimming it.
You see, the unconscious is not rational. It does not measure things in fairness or logic. When someone's shadow is stirred, they do not pause to ask, is this resentment truly mine, or am I projecting it? They simply feel it, often without knowing why, and you, the empath, stand there bewildered, sensing the tension that is never spoken but always present. This is the hidden cost of being attuned to the subtle layers of reality. You feel what others do not want to feel. You absorb the unspoken hostility, the quiet judgments, the half smiles, and the veiled remarks. Sometimes you even begin to believe them. You start to think that perhaps your light is too much, that perhaps you should shrink, speak less, carry less, feel less. But that is precisely the trap that the unconscious sets when it is not understood. If you shrink, you betray yourself if you dim your light, you sever your connection to the very essence that makes you whole. Let us look deeper into why empaths attract those who secretly resent their light. In analytical psychology, relationships are often the theater where the unconscious plays out its most intense dramas. When two people meet, it is not just their conscious selves that interact their unconscious minds. Their archetypes, their hidden complexes all begin to dance together. The empath often carries the archetype of the anima or animus, the inner feminine or masculine principle that represents emotional depth, intuition, and soulfulness. When someone encounters this archetype outside themselves, in the form of an empathic individual, they are drawn to it because it feels like a missing part of their soul. Yet, if they have rejected that part within themselves, they also feel an instinctive anger toward it. It is as if your existence challenges them to face the parts of themselves they have locked away. And not everyone is ready for that confrontation. There is another dynamic that is worth exploring, the archetype of the martyr. Many empaths, often unconsciously, take on the role of the one who suffers, so that others may feel better. This is not because you want to be a victim, but because you have been conditioned, perhaps from childhood, to believe that love is earned through sacrifice. You may have grown up in an environment where your sensitivity was both a gift and a burden, where you were praised for caring but criticized for feeling too much. Over time, you learned to prioritize others' emotions over your own, to give even when it drained you, to absorb pain in silence. This creates a pattern that the unconscious recognizes. You become a vessel for other people's projections, both good and bad. They admire you for your warmth, but they also unload their shadows onto you. They resent your light because it reminds them of their own darkness. Yet, they also depend on you to soothe that darkness. This is the double bind in which many empaths find themselves trapped. Imagine a dream in which you are holding a candle in a dark room. Around you are figures, some reaching out to you for warmth, others trying to snuff out your flame. This is not just a dream, it is a symbol of your life's journey. The candle is your empathy, your inner light, your ability to see beyond appearances. The figures are the people you encounter, some who see your light as hope, others who see it as a threat, and you, the dreamer, must decide, will you guard that flame, or will you let it flicker and die under the weight of others' resentment? This is the question that life continually asks of empaths. It is not about becoming harder or colder that would only turn you into what you are not. It is about becoming more conscious. To hold the candle without being burned by the shadows, it illuminates. You must understand that the resentment you face is not personal. It is archetypal. It belongs to a universal pattern that has existed for centuries. Look at history, at myth, at religion. The bringers of light have always been misunderstood, envied, even persecuted. Prometheus, who stole fire from the gods to give to humanity, was punished endlessly for his gift. Christ, who embodied compassion and truth, was crucified by those whose hearts could not bear his light. The prophet, the healer, the visionary. They have always stood on the edge of acceptance and rejection. Your life may not carry such dramatic weight, but the principle is the same. When you embody light, you reveal darkness. And not everyone welcomes that revelation. I tell you this not to frighten you, but to awaken you. The empath who understands this dynamic ceases to take it personally. You begin to see resentment as a signpost, a signal that your presence has touched a nerve, stirred something in the unconscious of another. You stop asking, what is wrong with me? And instead ask, what is this showing me about them and about myself? Because yes, even as an empath, you carry your own shadow. Sometimes you may feel superior in your sensitivity, as though your ability to feel makes you purer or wiser than others. Beware of this temptation. It is subtle, but it can create an unconscious arrogance that others sense and resent. The key is humility, to hold your light not as a weapon or a badge, but as a natural expression of who you are. Now let us turn inward. Why do you, as an empath, attract these challenging dynamics? It is not just because of what you are, it's also because of what you believe. Deep down, many empaths hold an unconscious belief that they must fix others, that they are responsible for healing the wounds of the world. This belief, noble as it may seem, can become a magnet for those who are unwilling to take responsibility for their own healing. They are drawn to you like moths to a flame, sensing that you will carry their burdens, absorb their pain, and ask for nothing in return. But this is not true empathy, this is self-erasure. True empathy does not require you to sacrifice your essence. It requires you to witness and understand without losing yourself. The moment you confuse your light with the duty to heal everyone, you become trapped in relationships where resentment festers, both theirs and yours. There is an image that comes to me often when I think of this dynamic.
Knowing why people might try to dim your light is one thing, but how do you protect that light so it can keep shining? The answer can be summed up in one word: boundaries. I know boundaries can sound like walls or ultimatums, especially to empaths who love to be open and giving. But I want you to reframe how you think of boundaries as one Union writer put it. Think of boundaries as a form of energetic hygiene, basic self-care for your emotional energy. Just like you wash your hands to prevent illness, you set emotional boundaries to prevent emotional overwhelm or harm. Carl Jung's insights encourage us to differentiate ourselves from others to know where I end. And you begin. For empaths, this is vital. It means learning that it's okay to say no when you need to step away from toxic people, and to not take on guilt for others' feelings. Jung warned that unchecked empathy, empathy without limits, can turn into a psychological trap. You might lose yourself entirely in trying to save others. I'm sure you've been there. You give and give, sensing someone's pain, wanting to heal it. But if that person in turn drains you, or worse, resents you, it becomes a destructive cycle. One common trap is the empath-narcissist relationship dynamic. GN psychologists have noted that empaths frequently attract narcissistic personalities when it's like two puzzle pieces locking together. The empath gives the narcissist, takes the narcissist who refuses to acknowledge their own shadow, is happy to let the empath bear the emotional burden. If you've ever been in a relationship or friendship where you were constantly understanding and forgiving, and the other person was constantly selfish or even subtly belittling you, you know how damaging this can be. Setting boundaries is the only way out of that trap. It might be painful to pull back or to enforce limits, but it protects your light from being exploited or extinguished. How do you set boundaries as an empath? Start small and practical. It can be as simple as giving yourself permission to take a break from socializing when you're overwhelmed, or telling a friend, I'm sorry, I can't talk about this topic right now. I need some space. It's letting go of the need to fix everyone's pain. Remind yourself you are not responsible for healing. Every person you meet, your empathy makes you caring, but it does not obligate you to carry others' crosses all the time. As Jung might say, carrying others' psychic loads all on your own not only hurts you, it robs them of the chance to face their own growth. Sometimes the most compassionate thing you can do is lovingly detach. Another key is to cultivate what I call selective empathy. This isn't about becoming cold, it's about discernment. Direct your empathy toward people who value it and reciprocate respect. You can still be a compassionate person and yet choose where to invest your emotional energy. This was a hard lesson for me. I used to think being a good person meant being available to everyone all the time, but I learned that my light shines brighter when I'm not constantly draining its fuel on those who don't appreciate it. It's okay. In fact, it's healthy to prioritize your own well-being. Jess's process of individuation also involves confronting your own shadow. Wait, empaths have a shadow too? Yes, we do. For example, many empaths, myself included, struggle with anger or assertiveness. Those feelings get pushed into our shadow because we want to be kind and gentle. But if we don't acknowledge our own capacity for anger or selfishness, those feelings can sneak out as passive aggression or resentment when we're overwhelmed. Part of protecting your light is making sure your own shadow is integrated. Do you secretly resent people for leaning on you too much? Do you ever feel superior for being the caring one? It's important to face those bits of darkness in ourselves too, with honesty and self-compassion. Jung believed that embracing our whole self, light and dark, is what makes us truly strong and balanced. When you work on yourself like this, owning your feelings, setting boundaries, and understanding your empath nature through a Jungian lens, an amazing transformation happens. Instead of feeling like a victim of your sensitivity, you start feeling like an author of it. Your empathy becomes a conscious tool, not a random curse. You become what one might call an emotional alchemist. In Jung's view, the mature empath is someone who can transform pain into wisdom and love without losing themselves in the process. Think about that. Your experiences, even the hurtful ones, can alchemize into insight every time someone tried to dim your light and you chose to maintain your boundaries and stay true to yourself. You turned a bit of that darkness into gold. You learned something about human nature, about who to trust, about your own resilience. That's the journey of an empath who steps into their power.
It is the image of a garden. The empath is like a garden filled with fragrant flowers, a place of beauty and nourishment. People come to this garden, some to appreciate it, some to take from it, and some, tragically, to trample it out of envy. The garden does not choose who enters, but it can choose how it is tended. You must learn to tend your inner garden, to set boundaries, like a fence, not to keep everyone out, but to ensure that only those who respect your light can enter. This is not selfishness, this is self-respect. Without it, your light will dim, not because others have taken it, but because you have given it away without care. I know this may sound abstract, but let us make it concrete. Think of a time when someone's resentment pierced you like a knife. Perhaps they mocked your sensitivity, dismissed your feelings, or tried to make you feel small. What did you do? Did you shrink? Did you apologize for being who you are? Or did you hold your ground? Quietly, but firmly, knowing that their reaction was not truly about you. This is the test of the empath, to stand in your truth without closing your heart, to see the shadow without being swallowed by it, The shadow of others is not your enemy, but it is not your responsibility to carry it. Your role is not to make everyone comfortable. If your light unsettles someone, that is their path to walk. You are not here to dim yourself, to ease their discomfort. In fact, your very presence might be the catalyst they need to awaken, though you may never see the result. The unconscious works in mysterious ways, often taking years or decades to reveal its transformations. You may never know how your light has changed someone, but trust that it does. There is a profound loneliness that often accompanies the life of an empath. It is the loneliness of being seen, yet not understood, of being loved for your light, but not for your humanity. People may seek your presence because they feel safe in your warmth, yet they rarely ask who protects the protector, who heals the healer. You, with your open heart, may find yourself surrounded by those who take and take, never realizing that the well they drink from is not infinite. And in moments of silence, you may wonder, why do I feel so drained? Why does my giving not always lead to connection? This, too, is a manifestation of the hidden resentment I speak of. Those who resent your light will often unconsciously try to take it, believing that if they can possess what you have, they will feel whole. But wholeness cannot be borrowed. It can only be discovered within. The psyche of those who resent your light is often tormented by what I call the shadow ideal. This is the internalized sense of what they wish they could be: kind, compassionate, free, but have disowned. When they see you living with that authenticity, their shadow ideal stirs, and instead of saying, teach me, they say, how dare you? It is a strange kind of envy, a bitter awareness that they are living behind walls of fear while you, with all your imperfections, dare to live unmasked. This is why the empath often becomes the target of subtle emotional games, of passive-aggressive comments, of the kind of rejection that wounds the spirit. But you must remember, these reactions are not truly about you. They are about the battle raging within the other person. A battle they are not yet willing to face. You may ask, but why me? Why do I always seem to attract such dynamics? The answer is both simple and profound, because your light is not neutral. It is magnetic. The unconscious of others recognizes on some primal level that you hold a key they have lost. Some will approach you with gratitude, others with hunger, and still others with hostility. But all of them are responding to the same force, your connection to the self, the living archetype of wholeness. This is why I say that to be an empath is to live as a kind of psychological alchemist. You are constantly transmuting the raw energies of others, their fear, anger, and sorrow, into something that can be understood and healed. But alchemy is dangerous when practiced unconsciously. If you are not aware, you will absorb what is not yours. You will confuse their shadow with your identity. You will begin to feel that you are the problem, that your sensitivity is a curse rather than a gift. I want you to imagine for a moment the image of the mirror. You are like a mirror to others, reflecting not only their beauty, but also their hidden wounds. Some will thank you for this reflection. Others will despise you for it. But the mirror is not responsible for the image it reflects. This is one of the hardest lessons for an empath to learn. You cannot take ownership of the projections others place upon you. When they resent your light, it is because your light has revealed something they are not ready to face. This is not your burden. Your task is simply to remain clear, to remain true, to polish your inner mirror so that it reflects with compassion but without distortion. Dreams often show this dynamic in symbolic form. A dreamer may see themselves carrying a lantern through a dark forest, while figures emerge from the shadows, some reaching for the light, others trying to snuff it out. The lantern is the dreamer's own consciousness, the fragile flame of awareness that illuminates the unconscious. Those shadowy figures are not enemies in the true sense. They are the unintegrated aspects of the self. In waking life, these aspects are often projected onto others. When someone resents your light, they are really wrestling with their own inner darkness. And in that moment, you become both a threat and a teacher, whether you wish to or not. There is a temptation, especially for those who feel deeply, to respond to resentment by becoming smaller. You think, if I am less bright, less open, perhaps they will not be threatened. But this is a betrayal of your essence. Your light is not a weapon, but neither is it something to hide. It is the natural radiance of a soul that has walked through the fire and emerged whole. Do not confuse humility with self-erasure. True humility is to shine without demanding that others see you. To love without demanding to be loved in return. To give without losing your core. The path of the empath is not an easy one because it requires you to live in the tension of opposites, to hold both light and shadow, love and pain, connection and solitude. But it is also a path of profound meaning. In my own work, I've seen that those who feel most deeply are often those called to the work of individuation, the process of becoming whole by integrating all parts of the psyche. Empaths are particularly suited to this journey because they have already learned to navigate the currents of emotion and intuition. Yet, individuation also demands that you set boundaries, that you claim your right to exist as you are without apology. If you do not, you will remain trapped in cycles of being both adored and resented, giving endlessly until you are empty. Consider the archetype of the healer. In myths and stories, the healer is rarely someone untouched by pain. Rather, so the healer is one who has been wounded and has found a way to transform that wound into wisdom. This is why your light is so powerful. It is forged from suffering, from the places where you have bled and wept and endured, but others do not see the journey. They only see the glow, and sometimes that glow triggers their own unhealed wounds. They may resent you, not because you are perfect, but because your survival reminds them of their own unacknowledged strength. It is as if they are saying, how can you shine when I am still trapped in the dark? This is not something you can fix. It is something you must simply witness, with compassion, but also with detachment. I urge you to ask yourself, what does my light represent to those who resent me? What archetype do I awaken in them? Is it the inner child who longs for love but has never received it? Is it the shadow self that despises vulnerability? Is it the hidden potential that they fear to express? When you understand this, you cease to take their reactions personally You begin to see the deeper game, the play of the unconscious, the dance of projections and archetypes. And in that awareness, you find freedom. There is also the question of your own shadow. Yes, even the empath has a shadow. Perhaps yours is the fear of being selfish, the terror of being seen as unkind. Perhaps you give and give because you are afraid of what will happen if you stop. Will they still love you if you are not always the one who understands, who forgives, who bends? The resentment you attract from others often mirrors the resentment you hold against yourself. The resentment for all the times you have silenced your own needs, dimmed your own voice, betrayed your own boundaries. This is why the work of self-awareness is so vital. You must not only see the shadows of others, but also your own. There is a sacred turning point in the life of every empath. A moment when you realize that your light is not meant to be spent recklessly, but cultivated like a flame that grows brighter with care. You begin to see that not everyone who reaches for you deserves access to your innermost self. This is not cruelty. It is discernment. For too long, you may have thought that being kind meant saying yes to every request, every demand, every subtle tug on your spirit. But when you live this way, you become a hollowed out vessel, giving without receiving, shining without replenishment. Those who secretly resent your light will gladly take from you.
Being an empath, an often insensitive world, is a challenging path. But as Carl Jung's insights show us, it's also a path of potential, great wisdom, and growth. You've been given the gift of feeling deeply, a gift the world truly needs. And with the right self-awareness and boundaries, that gift can light up not only others' lives, but your own. Yes, some people will be uneasy around your light, some will envy it or try to put it out. Shine anyway. Your light doesn't need everyone's approval, it just needs you to protect it. Remember that those who are meant to be in your life will embrace your authentic self, not diminish it. And those who fall away or criticize you for shining are simply grappling with shadows they haven't yet faced. In the end, keep in mind what Jung taught: understanding yourself is the key to understanding others. The more you honor your own truth, the less anyone else can make you feel too sensitive or too much. You have the right to empathize and the right to step back when needed. By doing so, you're not dimming your light. You're allowing it to burn steady and bright for the long haul. Thank you so much for watching and reflecting with me today. If this video spoke to you, please subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into psychology, spirituality, and personal growth. Join our community of empathetic, introspective souls together. Let's keep that flame of self-awareness and compassion glowing strong. Until next time, keep your light shining, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next video. And take care of your beautiful and empathic self. You deserve it.